Hello, everyone. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Sylvia. Hi, Gracie. Let's see, who else did I miss? I was trying to say hello to everybody. Hello, Laura. All right. Hi, Lisa. All right. Still hearing myself over here. Wendy Jo, my horse is doing just fine. She has a club foot, and she will always have a club foot, and it's because of the nature of her injury. Um, we're working on it. I'm trying to get them to come back out and trim that foot, so we'll see. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're going to try. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked that intro. I thought the music was just about right. I didn't want it too creepy. It's just about right. Hello, Roseanne. So, how are you guys doing? Is anybody working on their blanket? I've got mine right here. You see all the Cerberus hair all over it. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get here. And I wanted to show you guys about where I was. Let's see. I have a marker on one side somewhere here. Well, I did. It was supposed to be right here along the side. Hello, Colleen. Candace is working on her blanket. Hey, Denny Benini. Oh, there it is. All right. Here it is right here, my marker. I know. It's not nothing, y'all. It's not nothing. Hey, Julie, Bridget, Joyce, everybody's coming in. And I found these keepers for my needles. They're kind of interesting. Y'all can see, there we go. If you push it like that, you can see where it separates. Can you see that? And then it'll go back together. It's just like a little plastic piece. So you slide it on the needle like that. Or I guess you could just throw it right around the cord. But it works. It holds that work back. I just usually push it up until it comes off. Put them over there. Uh-oh, my hands are being weird over here. I hope it doesn't mess up on us. Let's see. There we go. You can see me a little bit better. So you guys have probably heard about this case already, right? Everybody's heard about this one? This is the case of Susan Smith. And it's one of the first ones that I paid attention to when I first started paying attention to crime and court and that kind of thing. I'm using a Clover 10 6.0 millimeter. These are Takumi clovers. Let's see if y'all can see. There we go. Takumi clover. Everybody has a hate for this woman, I'm telling you. Everybody. Yes, from clover. Those are good too. The clover ones are good too. Whoops, where'd you go? There we go. The rubber point protectors from clover are good. Working on wash rags for local charity. Awesome. Aw. Thank you for making squares. Those of you that are making those, I appreciate. Yeah, these are bamboo. This was the first interchangeable set that I got. So they screw on. Looks like my hands are a little bit delayed. Exactly. I agree. Yeah. I don't think it would make any difference, Colleen. And I'm gonna there may be some things that you guys have not heard about this case. And hello, Sharon. So I will introduce you to some facts that, I mean, we'll see. Maybe some of you do know some of this stuff. But we'll see what everybody thinks. Trying to figure out how to do this big old blanket and my notes at the same time. How are you, Sharon? Sharon knows all about scrap projects. She makes lots of them. I'll put my bag over here that has my yarn in it that I'm working from. Hello, Linda. Burns Flat, Oklahoma, not too far from me. Well, anyway, Oklahoma's just right up above me, just north of me. Hey, there's Cheryl. Come on in. Good to see you, Cheryl, my friend. Hey, there's Terry. Hi, Terry. Thanks for coming to help me out. There's Miguel. Okay, Miguel. Oh, good. That's good to hear. Yep. Hi, Shirley from Spokane. Awesome. You know, at least I used to live in Spokane. I may have to put my mouse up here, you guys. Maybe you still won't. I try to keep it out of the way. Okay, y'all ready? Any questions about the blanket? So I'm not going to pick a winner here during this episode, even though this is the last. Is this the last one for March? I don't know. Anyway, I am going to pick one by the end of March. So if you do want to be entered, please get me your pictures of your blanket. Does not have to be finished, you guys. Just whatever you're working on blanket wise for our scrap blanket project, whether it be knit or crochet. Put them in the Facebook group or send them to me by email, fiberfloozycrafts@gmail.com. And or if you're working on it and you want to tag me on Instagram, I will try to find it there. And the let me tell you again what the hashtag is. Hashtag Stitch in Crime Blanket Mal. Hey, Gumdrop. There you go. That's all the info for now. If you have any questions, I am sure one of the moderators can answer your questions while I am telling the story. Got to turn on my fan. Somehow when I get this blanket out, I start getting warm. Okay, so this is the case of Susan Smith. The type of crime is parricide, which is a parent who murders their children. The date of the murders occurred on October 24th, 1994. The victims are Michael Daniel, who was 3 years old, Alexander Tyler, who was 14 months. And the date that Susan Smith was arrested was on November 3rd, 1994, which was 10 days after it occurred. She was sentenced to 30 years to life on July 27th, 1995. Unstable. I don't know why. This happened last time with my hands. She will be eligible for parole in 2024. That's crazy. 2024. That's really close, to be honest. Now, while I'm working on my hands over here, I'm going to play for you. I've got a video to play for you. I've got there we go. Oh, it looks like my hands are back. These are pictures of Susan and David. I know, Gumdrop, isn't that crazy? This is Susan back. I believe this was right as she was graduating. May have been her graduation picture. Now, that one there is of her when she was, at the time she was arrested. And here she is with David. This is right after she committed the crime. This is a picture from one of their news deals where they appeared with a picture of their boys before anyone knew that she had done it. Hey, Alicia, come on in. Oh, thank you so much. Here's some pictures of her and the boys, and there's David and the oldest, who was Michael. I think this is one of the grandparents. This is, I believe that was David's grandmother. I'm not positive. Yes, it is. It is sad. Here is David. Now this is the letter, the confession. This is her confession letter. No, this was her statement that she made about what happened, not her confession. This was her statement. Does anybody want me to read this? Because if you want me to read it, I will have to go over to the live stream and find it. Because I can't read it from here. It's not, yeah, it's not quite big enough. Okay, hold on. I'm going to disappear. Well, I'm not going to be able to see your comments, so give me just a second. Okay, hold on. I got to go back. There we go. Let me see if I can find the document where use the Google setting and to zoom in. Where's that at? I don't know where the Google setting to zoom in is. Hi, Chels. Y'all, I don't know where the Google's. Oh, oi, there we go. Okay. When I left my home on Tuesday, October 25th, I was very emotionally distraught. I didn't want to live anymore. I felt like things could never get any worse. When I left home, I was going to ride around a little while and then go to my mom's. As I rode and rode and rode, I felt even more anxiety coming upon me about not wanting to live. I felt I couldn't be a good mom anymore, but I didn't want my children to grow up without a mom. I felt I had to end our lives to protect us from any grief or harm. I had never felt so lonely and so sad in my entire life. I was in love with someone very much, but he didn't love me and never would. I had a very difficult time accepting that, but I had hurt him very much, and I could see why he could never love me. When I was at John D. Long Lake, I had never felt so scared and unsure as I did then. I wanted to end my life so bad and was in my car ready to go down that ramp into the water, and I did go part way, but I stopped. I went again and stopped. I then got out of the car and stood by the car, a nervous wreck. Why was I feeling this way? Why was everything so bad in my life? I had no answers to these questions. I dropped to the lowest when I allowed my children to go down that ramp into the water without me. I took off running and screaming, oh God, no, what have I done? Why did you let this happen? I wanted to turn around so bad and go back, but I knew it was too late. I was an absolute mental case. I couldn't believe what I had done. I love my children with all my heart. That will never change. I have prayed to them for forgiveness and help, that they will find it in their heart to forgive me. I never, hold on. I never meant to hurt them. I am sorry for what has happened, and I know that I need some help. I don't think I will ever be able to forgive myself for what I have done. My children Michael and Alex are with our Heavenly Father now, and I know that they will never be hurt again. As a mom, that means more than words could ever say. I know from day one the truth would prevail, that I was so, oh, I didn't know what to do. I was very tough, well, to sit and watch my family hurt like they did. It was time to bring a peace of mind to everyone, including myself. My children deserve to have the best, and now they will. I broke down on Thursday, November 3rd, and told Sheriff Howard Wells the truth. It wasn't easy, but after the truth was out, I felt like the world was lifted off my shoulders. I know now that it is going to be a tough and long road ahead of me. As this at this very moment, I don't feel I will be able to handle what's coming, but I have prayed to God that He give me the strength to survive each day and to face those times and situations in my life, what will be entirely painful. I have put my total faith in God and He will take care of me. Woo. Okay. There you go. What a letter. Okay, so that was after. I was thinking that was her statement, but this one was not her statement. This one was her confession. So forgive me, I said it was her statement, but that was her confession. There's a picture of her car that's her car on the trailer as they're pulling it off, and there's a picture of it as they're pulling it out of the lake. Yeah, right, Alicia? That's David at the funeral. I believe that's with her lawyer. More pictures of her. That's at the beginning of her. I would think that was her arraignment. That's her little crying job that she did in court. I think it was the sentencing. I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Hello, Kim. Welcome in. This is the day she was sentenced. There was a lot of media coverage of this because it was happening at the same time the the court the court stuff was happening at the same time as the O.J. Simpson trial was going on. I didn't realize that. They were both at the same time. So the country was like all over the whole crime and news and stuff. That's David on the day of her sentencing. Oh, this one, hold on. Let me see if I can read this to you. This one's a gem. I am 31 years old. My birthday is September 26th. I'm looking to meet new people and hopefully become friends. During my spare time, I enjoy reading, working puzzles, and writing. I love rainbows, Mickey Mouse, the beach, the mountains, and waterfalls. My favorite color is navy blue, and my favorite flower is the daisy. Sorry, I can't help it. I'm a Christian and I enjoy attending church. I consider myself to be sensitive, caring, and kind hearted. I'm currently serving a life sentence on the charge of murder. I've grown and matured a lot since my incarceration, but I will always hurt for the pain I've caused so many, especially my children. I hope to receive letters from those who are not judgmental and who are sincere. I look forward to hearing from new people, hopefully finding new friends. May God bless each and every one of you. You can write to me, Susan Smith, blah, blah, blah. Right? You know, we got to forgive everybody, but it is hard, isn't it? I know. So that was before it was taken down. Now here she is later. Here's some of the pictures from news magazines. These are some that you guys probably remember these. I know, right? Okay, now that one, Sins of the Mother. Let me go back. That right there, that's a book by Maria Eftimays. Now, I read a book by Anne Rule on this one. Hi, Lori. Oh, that's good, Lori. I'm glad you had a good week. Now, if somebody's sending me something on my phone up here, a message or something, I'm not going to be able to get it right now because I can't see my phone. I have it facing down. More books. This one right here, Beyond All Reason, My Life with Susan Smith. This is the book that David wrote. There's the boys. Okay, we're back. I know. Okie doke. Let me get a drink. So that pen pal thing that went up, that was it was only up for a little while and then it was retracted. So if you guys are thinking you can write to her, you can't because that's been retracted. So nobody can write to her. If you want to contact her, you have to go, I don't know, there's like a whole rigmarole to go through, but so that whole open, let's communicate thing is hi Denise. So I am going to start knitting again and read to you what I have in my notes. Y'all ready? Y'all, I'm telling you, it's really something else. Let's just put it that way. Hi, Bonnie. Hello, those coming in. I may not be able to say hello when I start reading, so hello to those coming in, and thank you all so very much for being here. She's a very disturbed individual, let's put it that way. So she was born, Susan Smith was born in Union, South Carolina, into a family which was already very, very disturbed, very dysfunctional, let's put it that way. Now, Terry, if you have anything to add in here, you go right ahead and add that in, and I will do my best to keep an eye out for anything you want to add to fill in. Terry has been looking up some things, and he knows a lot about this case. Um, what he and I and Chelsea call the crazy mama cases. So I appreciate it. And y'all are welcome to talk about it in the chat. Absolutely. Okay, so dysfunctional by her father was alcoholic and he was abusive to her mother. There was a lot of fighting in the family. Um, she had an older brother who her mother and father got married when, sorry, I'm saying a lot. Her mother and father got married. Her mother, Linda, was pregnant with Susan's older half brother, and his name is Michael. And then they had another boy named Scotty, and then Susan. And Michael, who is the brother from the previous, before they got married, tried to hang himself. when she was very little, and she was very sad as a little girl because things were just crazy at home. Okay, just crazy. But she really loved her father. She looked up to her father, and she really loved her father, even though things were kind of crazy. She had this whole thing where she just really, really liked him. And oh, I know, I was reading some of this, and I thought, the Wells stuff, yeah, a lot of. Mm. And her father's name was Harry. So she would really light up whenever he was around, but things got worse and worse and worse, and her mother and father divorced in 1977, and this was after 17 years of marriage. So this stuff went on and on and on. So I don't remember how old the brothers are, how much older than Susan, but when the divorce happened, she was only 6. And her father committed suicide in 1978. So she had all of this around her where the brother tried to commit suicide, the father commits suicide, so, and all this other stuff that was going on. So just now understand, I'm just giving you background as to how crazy her life was. I'm not giving her an excuse for any of this at all. Not at all. Don't mistake what I'm saying and telling you for an excuse. I'm just telling the story. 2 weeks after the divorce, Linda's mother marries Bev Russell. So Linda and Harry get a divorce. 2 weeks after the divorce, she marries Bev Russell. And then Harry commits suicide in 1978. This is all within a couple months. That's a lot for kids. Bev Russell is a local businessman. He owns an appliance store downtown. He was previously married and has several girls. Which you're going to say, what? Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. I can't. My phone's buzzing up here, but I can't see anything. So hope it's not important. So Mr. Russell, not only was he a businessman, but he also became involved with politics. He was a Democrat who changed to be a Republican and became a part of the local Republican committee. And he was a member of the advisory board of the Christian Coalition. And he did all kinds of other things that came out. And I don't remember all of those things. You know what I mean? There was other things that came out during the trial that I couldn't remember some of that. But in other words, he was somebody that people trusted and all kinds of things, you know, in the community. Now, Susan, in school, she did really well coming up in school in spite of things. She was smart. She always carried at least a B average in school. In high school, she was in the math, Spanish, and Red Cross clubs. She was a president of the Junior Civitan Club, which performed volunteer work in the local community. Um, can you believe it? And from 1986 to 1988, she was actually a candy striper. You guys remember candy stripers? I don't know that they still call them candy stripers these days. In 1987, she would have been nearly 16 years old, and her stepsisters came over to spend the night. And that night she was sitting on the couch in her, because she was going to be sleeping on the couch, because they had the bedrooms and her bed were all taken, because they had the company. And the stepfather, Bev, was sitting on the couch, and she decided to go sit and lean into him on his lap and get a hug from him, lean into him. Well, he took it the wrong way and thought that she was coming on to him, so he felt all over her breasts and put her hand on his genitals. And she said, she told her mother later, I didn't say anything because I wanted to see how far he would go. Just really odd. That's some odd behavior. Not I'm scared or anything else. I just want to see how far he'd go. So already her mental awareness and stuff about all this is really strange, right? So yes, thank you. Thank you, Terry. So this goes on, she tells her mother, they file a complaint. Her mother, Linda, she sought help from the school counselors to find Susan someone to talk to help her. And Susan does go to counseling on this. She sees a therapist, goes to counseling. She goes several times and then just doesn't go anymore. She just decides she don't want to go anymore. Hi, Laura. So Bev was made to move out for a short time, but he doesn't stay gone. He comes back, moves back in again. So that is strange to me, because usually when something like this happens, a mother would not allow the guy back in the house. But anyway, so he moves back in, and a year later, Susan goes to her school counselor and tells her that he's done it again, that he's molested her, and what has happened. So it goes to court. There's actually a court meeting, and Bev's lawyer and the state lawyer come to an agreement. There are no charges brought, and the case is sealed. So there is no way to know what the agreement was or anything. And a lot of times this happens when children are underage. So cases do get sealed, because of things like that. So you can't say that it was sealed just because he was a local guy and he had all this, clout and all that kind of stuff. That may be why he didn't get any charges, but it's not necessarily why it was sealed. Yeah, it is a little fishy though. Now that's twice. Everybody knows. And then the family actually got mad at Susan over it too. Okay, now the summer of 1988, between Susan's junior and senior year, she started working at Winn-Dixie. She had a relationship with an older man. She got pregnant. She had an abortion. She broke up with the older man. She started a friendship with David Smith. And then here she would have been around 17 or so right then, and she tries to commit suicide. She takes a bunch of aspirin and stuff and tries to commit suicide. Yes, we are. Come on in, knitting artisan. We definitely are. We are. Ask the moderators what we're up to because we are making scrap blankets. So they found out during her stay in the hospital after this that she'd actually tried to commit suicide once before, and nobody actually had paid any attention to it. It was when she was 13, so it wasn't her first time, and it was the same thing. She had taken a bunch of aspirin and stuff. So that was November of 1988. When she came back to Winn-Dixie, David Smith was in a relationship with someone and was actually engaged. He broke off the relationship with the girlfriend to begin a relationship with Susan. And because that's the girlfriend I want. Just saying. Oh, that's the one I want. Yeah. So, I have to put a little bit of humor in here, you guys. Just saying. Come on back when you get done. Yes, come on back. Absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit about David here, okay? And the girl that he broke up with, her name was Christy Jennings. Now, this is not the same one that he winds up having a relationship with later on, who also was somebody he worked with. So David's family moved from Michigan to Putnam, which is about 5 miles outside of Union. He was 2 years old, so that would have been 1972, because he was born in 1970. And growing up, David's father and mother grew apart because David's mother was a very devoted Jehovah's Witness. And this was something that became a problem for David's father. David's father did not approve of how deep David's mother was into the Jehovah's Witness indoctrines. He was not happy with that. Not that she was a part of it, just that she was in really deep, and she was not. She was strict and just she had different thoughts about things than what he did, and they just didn't get along. And this happens. Religion is something that is very personal to people, and a lot of times families don't get along because of it. It just happens, and that's pretty much what happened here. Hi, Patricia. I don't know that it was cultish, but I think that that's what the father thought. But regardless, they did not. They had lots and lots of problems. So David grew up in a great family, but he also grew up with his mother being Jehovah's Witness and being very strict about it, that he grew up sort of sheltered. So that was the point of that part of his life, was that he grew up kind of sheltered. Welcome in everyone that's coming in. And, her thing was always that you have to do the right thing all the time. So David and Susan had been dating for a little while when she got pregnant. So he broke off his engagement, all of that stuff, and he decided to marry her. And because, for having the abortion and all that other stuff, well, that, where's clean, start with a clean slate, right? Just, I'm not going to get into that discussion either. It just goes into the whole story. But they get married March 1991. David's oldest brother dies of complications of Crohn's disease. So now they have even more in common, her and David. There's all this going on with their families. 11 days after he dies is when they get married, March 15th of 1991. I understand, Patricia. May of 1991, David's father attempts suicide. Here we go. Here's a whole nother thing they have in common. Susan finds him laying on the floor after he had taken a whole bunch of pills, which is what she did. Y'all, I can't make this up. I cannot make this up, okay? This is some weird crap going on with these two families. So Susan and David wind up getting separated several times and having several affairs between them. Okay, let's just lay that out there. This is what happens. This is the nature of their marriage. They have several affairs and separate several times while having two children. I mean, and then in the middle of all that, having two children. And yes, we are all at that age fairly inexperienced at life. Their first separation happened in March of 1992. 1 year. 1 year married to Susan, and David goes out with a former. No, Susan goes out with a former boyfriend at Winn-Dixie, whereby now David is her boss. So David's her boss at Winn-Dixie. She's really not liking him being her boss either. Also, some of that stuff doesn't happen anymore. They have, what do they call that? What do they call those laws where people who are related can't be? What is that called, y'all? Can't think of it. Yes, the children were both David's. So, the summer of 1992, Susan and Michael went to live with Linda and Bev. Susan got pregnant again in November of 1992, and they got back together. Susan says the only way that they're going to go forward is to have their own home. Bev and Linda give them the money for a down payment, and they move into the house at 407 Tony Road in Union. And this house becomes their house. It becomes the house of the boys, all of that. Even through their separations and all of the things that happen. Thank you, Roseanne. Nepotism. Yes. In June of 1993, David begins a relationship at work. Now, this is the relationship that he has on and off throughout. Her name is Tiffany Ross, I believe. And I would say that probably that relationship was more stable for him than even the one with Susan. And in August, Alex is born by emergency C-section. So David moves back in. He's got to go help Susan. So he moves in. He goes and helps Susan. She has this emergency C-section. He's home with her and all of that while she's home recuperating for the emergency C-section, and decides it's the best thing for the baby, which again, if you know his background with everything, he keeps thinking he's going to do the right thing, and you can't blame him for that. Yes. Yes, Alicia. And 3 weeks after she recuperates, he moves back in, all that stuff. 3 weeks after, Susan gets a job. No, they separate again. So he moves out again. And then she stays there living with in the house that they with the boys in the house. So she has the kids. And then now they have moved into a part of their life to where they are both raising the kids but not in the same house. Susan, meanwhile, gets a job at Conso Products. Now, you guys, now I got to play you another video. I couldn't believe this when I found it, so let me share this one. Ooh, is that the right one? Now I can't remember which one it was. Let's just do this one anyway. Let's see. Nope. Give me a second. Yeah, I don't know what I did with it. Well, shoot. Okay, I'm going to play one anyway. No, I played that one already. I said I was going to play one. I'm going to play one. Now, I had to put this in here. This is from the Wall Street Journal. It was, I'm not sure of the date. Let's see farther down if it tells us anything about the date. Here we go. This is from May 8th of 1996. But this headline, you guys, Conso sticks to its knitting after brush with tragedy. No kidding. Knitting. Conso Products was marching ahead as the dominant player in its niche of making decorative trim for furniture and pillows and such. Then in the fall of '94, an employee named Susan Smith brutally drowned her 2 sons. On top of that, Miss Smith later said that a cause of her depression was her breakup with Conso employee Tom Finley, the son of Chairman J. Carey Finley. Miss Smith also testified she slept with Carey Finley. Despite the murders, the accusations of Miss Smith's trial, the Union South Carolina company somehow stayed focused on its business, never missing a step. Conso posted record results for the fiscal year, ended July 1st, and now, gratefully out of the limelight, is back to being one of the true superstars in the otherwise lackluster textile industry. Let's see. Was trying to decide what it is that they make. So let me see if I can find that. So farther down in here, it says Conso's manufacturing floors in Union and in Mexico, and now with a recent acquisition in the United Kingdom of a similar firm called British Trimmings. The company began developing or modifying knitting equipment and weaving machines to allow it to use finer yarn for more delicate trims and tassels. A dyeing process on the premises helped control color quality. So you can't say that the fiber part of this podcast is not represented in the story. There you go. I couldn't believe it when I found that. Yeah, so that is the rumor, is that she was sleeping with both the son and the father. So both the president of the company and the son of the company. We'll get to that. It's coming. And thank you, Knitting Artisan. Thank you. I know. Yep, Lori will get you. You got it. She won't let you in unless you answer the questions. You can just put sloth. Well, no, it's you. Okay, so now we're going to get to that, the juicy part. She's working. She gets this job as a bookkeeper. I'm trying to figure out how she got this job as a bookkeeper, because it's like, okay, wait, where did she get the experience to be a bookkeeper? I mean, I know she was an okay student in school, so whatever. She worked her way into becoming the assistant to the secretary of the president. Okay. This job exposed Susan to a new set of friends and experiences, for sure, because these were people who had money there. They were having parties. They would go to lunches. They would go out to dinners. Um, they had a house with, hot tub and all of that kind of stuff. And so she was getting to rub elbows with a lot of very, um, you know, more influential, well-to-do people. So Tom Finley was one of three sons of the president of this company. And he was a graphic designer at the company. And Susan, and others would hang out at a local bar. Now, y'all, like I said, you can't make this up, okay? The local bar called Hickory Nuts. Well, we know at least one was a nut. So Tom and Susan dated from January of 1994 to the spring of 1994. So just for a few months, okay? They had their fun for just a few months, and then things kind of happen. For some reason, they're not seeing each other anymore, and her and David decide to try it again. Now remember, I said they break up, they get together, they break up. This is just what they do. David moves back in, and he stops seeing Tiffany. Then at the end of July, this is summer, right into spring, and then right into summer. From spring to summer, that was it. That's all you got. Now she wants a divorce. She wants a divorce. So David gets an apartment. He's tired of this moving in, moving out, trying to find a place to go, what to do. So he gets an apartment. He decides, you know what? I am going to do my best to take care of my boys too. Okay? So we're going to share, again, we're going to share this responsibility, but I'm going to do it better. So I'm going to get an apartment. He gets it where he has enough room to have a kid's bed and a crib and all of that stuff. It's all set up so he can start helping her with these boys. In September, again, this is 1994. This is the year that all this happened. We're getting really close to when all this happens. But in September is when the divorce papers are served. And you'll never guess the grounds that she puts for the divorce. Can anybody guess the grounds for the divorce? You have to put something on the divorce papers. So she puts adultery. he had an affair. October 21st is when the divorce papers, y'all are on it. Look at you. And October 21st, the papers are filed at the courthouse. And just a few days, just like 2 or 3 days before they're actually recorded at the courthouse, is when Susan gets what's called a Dear John letter from Mr. Tom Finley at the company. Now, I could not find the whole letter from Mr. Finley, but I can tell you the gist of it, what was released to papers and stuff. And that was that he told her, you will without a doubt make someone a lucky man, and some lucky man a great wife, but it won't be me. I could really fall for you. You have some wonderful qualities. I think you're a terrific person, but some things about you just aren't suited for me. Maybe you ain't right in the head. That could be it. And yes, I'm talking about your children. So here we are, just like with the Diane Downs case of, I want this guy, but he doesn't want children. Now, that's just one section of the letter. There was more to it, like I said, but I could not find it so that I could show it to you guys. Yeah, she had delusions of grandeur. She just had delusions. She was not, and it's sad all the way around when you think about it, because she had the opportunity. It wasn't like people didn't get her help. It wasn't like she had absolutely no support whatsoever. However, if you look at the lives that these two people had, it's kind of hard to think that, anybody would have had a chance with all this. It's just downright sad. Okay. Now we're getting down to the timeline, but I'm going to play you another video. She could have. Okay. I do have, he was interviewed, and I do have that coming up. He was devastated. Okay, but I want to play you some of this other. Hang on. What was this one? Okay, I showed you that one. Okay, this is from Murderpedia. This is the case of Susan Smith on Murderpedia. Here is her picture at the time of her arrest. The characteristics of this murder are called parricide, which is the same as in Diane Downs. Hers. Now, I am going to tell you guys, this particular video runs for 10 or 12 minutes or something like that. So I'm just going to knit and let it play, and I'll kind of keep an eye on the chat while I'm doing that. Hi, Nisi. Oh, I know. There's a lot here, and there is a lot here that a lot of people are like, wow, for some reason, when I was going through it, I had forgotten a lot of it too, even though I had read one of the books. Yes. Yep. Okay, I'm going to let it go. Was also a parricide. She claimed that a black man stole her car and kidnapped her sons. Number of victims, 2. The date of the murders was on October 24th, 1994. The date of her arrest was November 3rd, 1994. The date of her birth is September 26th, 1971. The 2 sons were Michael Daniel, 3, and Alexander Tyler, 14 months. On the method of murdering, it was drowning. She strapped her sons in their car seats and let her car roll into a lake. The location was at Union County, South Carolina, in the USA. She was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison on July 27, 1995. In the state of South Carolina versus Susan Vaughn Smith. Susan Lee Vaughn Smith, born September 26, 1971, is an American woman sentenced to life in prison for murdering her children. Born in Union, South Carolina, and a former student of the University of South Carolina Union, she was convicted on July 22, 1995, for murdering her two sons, 3-year-old Michael Daniel Smith, born October 10, 1991, and 14-month-old Alexander Tyler Smith, born August 5, 1993. The case, and this first part that I'm reading is actually from the court filings. Then I will be reading one that was from a local paper. The case gained worldwide attention shortly after it developed, due to her claiming that a black man stole her car and kidnapped her sons. She later claimed that she suffered from mental health issues that impaired her judgment. According to South Carolina Department of Corrections, Smith will be eligible for parole on November 4th, 2024. Yes, next year. No, 2 years from now. After serving a minimum of 30 years, she is currently incarcerated at South Carolina's Leith Correctional Institute near Greenwood. So in the case, on October 25, 1994, Smith reported to police that she had been carjacked by an African-American man who drove away with her sons still in the car. She made dramatic pleas on television for the rescue and return of her children. A Usenet chain letter circulated in the following days, asking internet users to be on the lookout for the vehicle. However, 9 days later, on November 3rd, following an intensive, heavily publicized investigation and a nationwide search, Smith confessed to letting her 1990 Mazda Protege roll into nearby John D. Long Lake, drowning her children inside. She allegedly wanted to discard her children so that she might resume an affair with a wealthy local man who had no interest in a ready-made family. It later emerged that investigators had been suspicious of Smith's story from the beginning. From the second day of the investigation, the authorities suspected that she knew where the children were. While they suspected she killed them, they held out some hope that the boys were still alive. Lakes and ponds were searched, including the lake in which they were eventually found. The authorities originally thought the car could have traveled out only about 30 feet. Later, they found it about 60 feet out because of its speed when it entered the lake. And it drifted on top of the water for about 30 feet. She had taken a polygraph along with her husband, David, 2 days after the boys disappeared. The results were inconclusive, but investigators did feel that it indicated that she was lying when she said she did not know where they were. She was polygraphed during every subsequent interview with investigators and failed that question each time. There were also no other cars near the intersection where she said the carjacking had occurred. A big break in the case had to do with her story on where she was carjacked. The particular red light at which she said she stopped is only triggered when a car is coming from the cross street. According to her, there were no other cars around, so there would be no reason for her to stop at this intersection. Smith's defense psychiatrist diagnosed her with dependent personality disorder. Her biological father committed suicide when she was 6 years old, and she rarely had a stable home life. It was disclosed in her trial that Smith was molested in her teens by her stepfather, who admitted that he had molested her when she was a teenager and had consensual sex with her as an adult. At 13, she attempted suicide. After graduating from high school in 1989, she made a second attempt. At one time, she was incarcerated in the Administrative Segregation Unit in the Camille Griffin Graham Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina. While she's been in prison, 2 guards have been punished for having sex with Smith. Lieutenant Houston Cagle and Captain Alfred R. Rowe, Jr. Consequently, she was moved to a prison in Greenwood, where she's currently held. In 2003, she placed a personal ad at writeaprisoner.com, which she has since retracted. So if you wanted to write to her, you're out of luck, because that she's retracted that. There are some books. Susan Smith, Victim of Murderer. My Daughter Susan Smith by Linda Russell and Shirley Stevens. David Smith wrote Beyond All Reason, My Life with Susan Smith. So the Carolina jury rejects the execution for a woman who drowned sons. This is by Rick Bragg from the New York Times, July 29, 1995. A jury today decided that Susan Smith should not be put to death for the drowning of her 2 young sons, and instead should spend the rest of her life in prison to remember. It took the jury 2.5 hours to reject the prosecution's request for the death penalty and settle on a life sentence. The jury's unanimous decision saved Mrs. Smith, 23, from death row, but left her alone in a tiny cell with the ghosts of her dead children for at least the next 30 years, her lawyer said. This young woman is in a lake of fire, said the lawyer David Bruck. That's her punishment. Mr. Bruck had argued that Mrs. Smith was so distraught over the deaths of her children, Michael, 3, and Alex, 14 months, that she did not want to live. But as the jury's verdict was read, she gasped and slipped her arm around Mr. Bruck's waist to give him a quick, firm hug. Mrs. Smith, at the center of a murder case that first drew the sympathy and later the loathing of the nation, was convicted last Saturday of murder. To reclaim a lover who said he did not want a relationship with a woman who had children, the prosecutor contended Mrs. Smith drove to a dark lake on the night of October 25th and sent her car rolling into the water with the 2 little boys strapped inside in their car seats. For 9 days, Mrs. Smith looked into television cameras and mournfully begged a phantom carjacker, who she described as a young black man with a gun, to bring her babies back. Then, after thousands of volunteers had combed back roads, dredged lakes, passed out flyers, and prayed for her son's safety, she broke down after a prayer with a plain-spoken, methodical county sheriff, and said the words that no one wanted to believe. Now, after 9 months of what residents here call a collective pain over these murders, and the national attention for all the wrong reasons it has brought to this little mill town, it is over. Almost on cue, as the county court clerk read off the verdicts in the courtroom, it started to rain hard, washing away for at least a little while a summer heat wave that has lasted throughout this trial. Poetic justice, said Andy Wallace, a state investigator, as he watched the rain run down the street. Inside the courtroom, Mrs. Smith's family members clasped their hands and prayed as the verdict was read. The boy's father sat like a statue. David Smith has said he wanted his estranged wife to die for what she did. It was a lifetime of deep depression, punctuated by destructive sexual affairs and suicide attempts that caused Mrs. Smith to snap the night of the murders and do what few human beings could ever do, her lawyer claimed. That sickened Mr. Smith, who buried his children in the same coffin as Mrs. Smith sat in her prison cell. Me and my family are disappointed that the death penalty was not the verdict, he said, his lips quivering as he held back his tears. But it wasn't our choice. They returned a verdict they thought was justice. I'll never forget what Susan has done to me, my family, and her family. I can never forget Michael and Alex. But forgive, that's something I guess I'll have to deal with further down the road. Said he would probably leave town. There are too many memories here crowding in on him. There are a lot of things I would rather not look at for the rest of my life, he said. The state's lead prosecutor, Tommy Pope, had tried to show that Mrs. Smith was fooling everyone with her claims of remorse, the way she fooled everyone for 9 days in October and November. She may be sorry now, Mr. Pope said, his voice rising from a near whisper to a shout, as he urged the jury for a death sentence in his closing argument. But was she sorry when she dropped that handbrake down and sent her children to their death? He laid photographs of the 2 little boys on the rail of the jury box as he spoke of what the boys must have felt as the car slid under the lake at about 9 p.m., and how Mrs. Smith ran from the edge of the lake with her hands over her ears. When that car filled up with water, they probably didn't see it, said Mr. Pope, because of the dark of night. But they felt that water in the darkness as it covered their faces. His case against Mrs. Smith and his refusal to accept a plea bargain for life in prison caused the town to have to relive the worst thing that has ever happened here. The prosecutor had been criticized and accused by Mr. Bruck and others of using Mrs. Smith to build a reputation. I stand by it, Mr. Pope said of the decision, and I always will. Even at the end of this road we've all been through, I'd say it was still worth it. It had to be done. Moving ahead just a little bit. In South Carolina, state law requires a death penalty verdict to be unanimous. If one juror holds out, it is an automatic life sentence with a chance of parole after 30 years. The jurors refused to comment on the case today, so it was not clear why they decided to spare Mrs. Smith, but during... It's funny you should say that, Nisi, because that was something that was covered here, was that they really aren't sure why they didn't do it. There was something about, because there was some stuff that happened during the trial too, and I really haven't gotten all the way into my notes on the trial of this, because there's a whole lot there with all of the media attention stuff that was going on too. In jury selection, several of the jurors had talked of the enormity of the decision of life or death. Guilt was always a foregone conclusion, Mrs. Smith confessed on November 3rd, and her children's bodies were recovered later that day. Divers had missed the car in their first search of John D. Long Lake, a recreation area outside Union, because they did not search far enough into the lake. The jury of 3 women and 9 men, 8 whites and 4 blacks, took the same amount of time to convict her, 2.5 hours, as it did to reject the death penalty. In such a small place, picking a jury with no ties to her had been impossible. One of them, the wife of the police chief, had been Mrs. Smith's babysitter when she was a child, and others had friends or co-workers who saw members of her family almost every day, at the mill, at the Walmart, or at ball games. I think a part of each person in the courtroom was swayed by the nature of the crime and the impact on its victims, said the judge, William Howard, during the sentencing. I know your hearts have been torn, as everyone's hearts have been torn, he told the jury. For black residents of Union, there was a special pain. Mrs. Smith chose a black man as a scapegoat. They believed because it was more believable. But everyone was affected, one way or another, residents said. Beverly Russell, the stepfather who molested Mrs. Smith when she was a teenager, was once a big man in town, a respected political leader, churchgoer, and businessman. Other secrets have been spilled. Most are just glad it's done and want life to resume some normalcy, if that is possible. Others felt cheated because they still are not sure which of the 2 Susan Smiths killed the boys that night. There are some things that are going to remain somewhat mysterious, said Mr. Bruck. I wish it wasn't so. One fact still haunts Mr. Pope. Mrs. Smith parked her car on a steep incline that night. in what her lawyer said was a failed suicide. She let go of the handbrake, reconsidered, pulled it up again, and then let it go, and in some instinct for survival, jumped from the car. And that is what that came out later. That is exactly what she told them that she did. That part of it was that's partly read into that statement that I just read, her confession, but there was more that was done in the actual confession in when they sat down with her, um, than what just was in that statement. Um, and I do want to tell y'all, and hello, Sue, but I do want to tell y'all that David has said that he definitely will be there every single time she comes up. There's no way. He was so mad they didn't do the death penalty, but he respected them for what they did. But anyway, he said he'll be there to make sure. Yes, Delphine works in this realm of mental health and such, so she sees a lot of this. I know they actually took that off some of the newscasts because it was not believable. But Mr. Pope and common sense say that is impossible. She would have had to have flung herself as the car began to roll immediately, and would have certainly torn or dirtied her clothes. Her clothes were clean when she walked to a nearby house to tell her lie about the carjacker. Mr. Pope and common sense say she must have stood outside the car, leaned in, and let go the handbrake and jumped back. And how many people here wonder, was that a suicide attempt? Oh, hey, there we go. That's the end. Yeah, so I was real close to the end of that one. So yeah, you guys are hitting on all the points. Exactly. That's exactly a lot of what that went on. Like I said, I did not get a lot of my notes in. That's why I wanted to read that portion of it, because I hadn't got quite into the whole court case stuff. But now I can tell you. Now I can tell you the timeline. I'm glad those that came in and I didn't get to say hello to you. I appreciate your being here very much. Y'all don't forget to hit the like button. So here is the timeline. On the day of the crime, October 25th, 1994. These are some things I don't know if you guys remember about the case. Susan took the kids to daycare and went to work, and she had lunch uh, with a group of people. Like I said, they would often do this. They all went out to eat. They had lunch, and Tom was there. Tom Finley was there, and she told her supervisor, Sandy Williams. She said, I have to leave. I can't stay because. And she said, well, what's wrong? Are you okay? And she goes, no. She says, there's somebody here that I'm in love with and doesn't love me because of my children, so I have to leave. Okay. Yeah, he did. Yes, he did, Nisi. Yes. Manipulation was a big part of her world for sure. And so about 1:30, she's sitting at her desk because she didn't leave. She went back to work. Probably was wanting to see if he's going to come back to work. About 1:30, she's sitting at her desk and um, she's waiting and waiting. And by about 2:30, she calls Tom. She doesn't see him or hear from him, so she calls him. And she asks him, you have to come outside with me because I have to tell you something. Now, at this point, you remember the divorce and all that stuff had started between her and David. And she tells him that David was going to bring out stuff during the divorce that was going to be very embarrassing, her affair with him, and also her affair with his dad, and that she tried to embezzle money from the IRS and all these things. And he looked at her and he was shocked because he did not know that she'd had an affair with his father. And he told her, he said, well, anything between you and I is over. I'll be friends with you, but we ain't going to be intimate anymore. That's over. So at 4:30, she tries to return Tom's sweatshirt. She finds him in the photography room, and she's like, "Well, I have this sweatshirt, that he had given her from Auburn University." And he tried to, oh, it was Tiffany he married. I did not know that. Thank you, Cuppy. And he wouldn't take it. He said, "Just keep it. I don't want it." So she leaves work. She goes and picks the kids up at daycare, and she goes and drives up towards Hickory Nut, the bar. So everybody would go, and this was the only real local, like, go have a drink and get something to eat kind of place, pub type place. Cerberus has landed. Hi, Bubby. He just landed. If y'all saw everything, the earthquake, Cerberus has now landed underneath my feet. He's all set. He's going to be snoring in a minute. And if those of you that are new here are wondering who Cerberus is, he is our mascot here. He is my half border pit and he's a border pit. He's pit bull and border collie. So when she goes to the bar, and she's probably thinking, he's going to show up too anyway. And she sees Sue, who is the marketing manager. And she asks Sue, she goes, "Will you go back to work with me and watch my kids? Because I've got to talk to him and tell him that I didn't mean to tell him that, because I just wanted to see what his reaction was, and it's not true, and all that. I didn't have an affair with his father." He is a love bug. And so they go back up there. Well, Tom doesn't want anything to do with her. She walks into his office, and he escorts her right back out and says, "We're not doing this." So now this is about 5:30 when they go. And he doesn't want anything to do with her. She drops Sue back at the bar, and she goes home, and by now it's 6:00. A little while later, she decides to call the bar and see if Tom has arrived at the bar. Well, yes, he has. She talks to Sue, who is there with Tom and a group of other people. This place they all would meet. And Susan says, "Well, is he talking about me?" She says, "No, he's not talking about you." So now she's mad. She's put out, yada yada. By 8:00, she decides to dress the boys. She gets them dressed. She puts them in their car seats, and she's decided she's going to go drive around and think about things, right? So she's driving around town. At about 9:00, she bangs on the door. Now, see, you heard what her story was of what happened. But 9 p.m. is when she bangs on the door at the McLeods, and they live about a quarter of a mile from John D. Lake. "Please help me. He's got my kids. He's got my car," she tells Shirley McLeod. "A black man has my kids in my car." So the McLeods call 911. And you may have heard some of the night. I was not able to find all of the 911 stuff, so I don't have anything of that. And her story is that she stopped behind Monarch Mill Textile Company at the traffic light, and a black man with a gun forces her to drive with the boys, crying in the back, to the access road to the John D. Long Lake. He forces her to stop, pushes her out, and drives off with the car and the boys. The sheriff is called. His name is Howard Wells. He knows Susan. He has somewhat of a friendship with her brother, Scotty, and his wife, Wendy. He calls the FBI and he calls SLED, which is the acronym for the South Carolina Enforcement Division, for more assistance, because he knows they are just a small town and there's no way that he has enough of the assistance that he needs for. Thank you, Alicia. There's no way, as small as it is, that he's going to be able to handle this on his own. So he calls in everybody. And they're all over at the McLeod's house where she went and knocked on the door. They're all over there. And eventually he says, you guys, you got to find a different meeting place. So she says, well, we can go to Linda and Bev's. So that's her mother and the stepfather who, yeah, who she's continued to have a relationship, she admits. She's continued, yes, Terry, she's continued to have a relationship with, even as an adult. And they go over there. Now, everything just starts rolling. It just starts rolling. All the media gets started. It goes national. David comes home to be with her because he's got to comfort her. He he believes her absolutely. All of that. They do that first search of the lake. They did not go out very far, okay? Because that's just kind of typical of what they do. They had no idea at the time, like I said earlier, that the vehicle traveled, it floated and traveled the way it did. And that's why they did not find it. They also did a search of the woods around it with heat-seeking, equipment and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Jeannie. And I did not know this, but the Adam Walsh Center became involved in this case. They contacted, because it got national attention right away. Like I said, they contacted Wendy, who was the sister-in-law, and they helped to do the flyers that were put out everywhere, all over. There were flyers put out. People were putting out yellow ribbons for the boys. The town came out on horses even and went searching for them. This town went crazy because here she was a local person and this horrible thing has happened. These poor kids, we've got to find these kids. And this, yeah, doesn't this sound familiar, Alicia? And, all of this stuff, just like, yeah. Hello, Sandy, come on in. And then the inconsistency started. The investigators started to wonder about some of the things that Susan was saying, because they said there was a friend she was supposed to be going to see. She said she was going to her mom's. And then there was a friend she was supposed to be going to see. Well, the friend was not home that night. There was no way she could have gone to see this friend. She said that she stopped at Walmart before she went driving out, to this other place. Well, that didn't happen because the Walmart employees never saw her. The light at the intersection was one of the biggest tip-offs to the investigators, because she said that there was nobody around and this guy stopped her and all this stuff happened. Well, that particular light, the only way that it would have triggered to to change, for the light to change, was with traffic. There had to have been traffic, or else, there's no way that was, nobody was going to be around. Okay, let's see. Let's see what else I have to play for you guys. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you don't think I'm ignoring you. Let me see what else I got for you. Oh, here is the behavior panelist. Okay. Yeah, it was motion activated. Yes. I did want to talk just a moment about this channel. This is the behavior analysis panel. These guys are called the behavior panel down here, if you see down the corner. And they actually do behavior analytics on several people. And that's what they do. It's just what they do. They're experts in this, and they've been a lot of fun to watch. And so I wanted to give them a shout out. They did the Susan Smith case. So I thought it would be fun if you guys go over and check them out. They're huge. They have almost 500K subscribers now. So they've done a lot of different cases, and they also do more than just cases. They do like just different people, like famous people, just different people. Just give them a watch, you guys. Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have been watching them, and it's very, very interesting, the things that I watched their impression of her. I've watched several of them. I watched their ones with Michael Jackson. They did the guys that did the accusations against Michael Jackson. I watched the one of Scott Peterson. Oh, that's one I want to do too, you guys. I want to do the Scott Peterson thing. I've been watching some more of it again. That story just fascinates me. All right, let me see what else we've got. This one is good too.
Was getting Susan Smith to tell the truth after so many days of denial, how difficult was that?
It was difficult, particularly she had been interviewed on several occasions before, and was actually given a polygraph before. So when I went up there, started the interview, I knew in my own mind that I couldn't be hard on her, because the last time somebody got difficult with her and hollered at her, she walked out of the interview. I knew that's what I was facing. And I also knew, John, that if we didn't get something out of Susan Smith, the case may not have been solved, because only she and the man upstairs knew what she did. Nobody else saw it, nobody else proved it. So I knew it was difficult, so I took it very slowly. 5 days of interviews to get to the end of it. Well, actually I have to give credit to a maintenance man in the area who knew that the traffic light, where she says the kidnap occurred, doesn't turn red if there's no cars at the intersection. It's always green. And she was saying that she was stopped there, and that's where she was kidnapped. And so when I confronted her with that, I finally got the truth out of her. And what I did, I gave her another avenue to go in. I gave her the avenue of, could this have happened somewhere else, because the light would have turned green and you wouldn't have been stopped. And finally, after a while, she went down that road and said, yes, it happened over here 10 miles away at a little town. And so then I knew that probably had her foot in the door, and that she probably was going to tell us later on what happened. That turned the point. In fact, I told her to go home And I said, go home and write a statement as to everything that happened when you went to the new place. She came in the next day with a statement in detail about it. And of course, the sheriff and I then decided, well, we'll tell her we had a surveillance of the place. And when we did that, it kind of went down. It went downhill for her, and she finally confessed.
And when she confessed, what kind of emotion did she show?
She dropped to the floor on her knees and crying hysterically. And it appeared to be a true lying. Maybe she's lying now because she got caught. And she's, it's a combination. Or she's lying about reliving what happened. Could be, either way.
And was that when she told you where the boys were?
Yes.
The children were?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did she say that?
She said, well, you won't find the boys. I think something to the effect they're with the car in the water. And then she later on told us in detail about what her in mind was. When the car was rolling, she realized something was really wrong. She said she tried to go in. She wanted to go in and stop the car, but didn't know how to put the brakes on and everything with the car rolling. Whether or not you want to believe that or not, that's questionable.
Yeah, I'd say. Okay, now you guys were asking me about impressions. Now we're talking about the behavior panelists. We're talking about what David's impression was and things. Now I have a couple, they're grainy, but it's the best I could do as far as finding footage from their, like they had interviews. Okay. Let's see if this is it. Nope. Here we go.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children, Michael 3 and Alexander 14 months.
I think this was the prosecutor.
Tomorrow marks a somber anniversary in South Carolina. It's been 25 years since Susan Smith killed her 2 young sons by strapping them inside her car and rolling it into John D. Long Lake in Union County.
Now that night, she told police that a black man carjacked her and her vehicle with her sons still inside. As you heard, 3-year-old Michael and 1-year-old Alex. After 9 days, though, Susan Smith finally confessed, saying she did it herself. Smith is now serving a life sentence at Leith Correctional in Greenwood and is eligible for parole, believe it or not, in 2024.
The case received national attention.
Susan Smith
and her then-husband David appeared on national news pleading for their boys' safe return.
I know right here what the truth is. I can see from their side why they have to do the things they have to do. But the Lord and myself both know the truth. I did not have anything to do with the abduction of my children.
Could you believe that? So, no, she didn't have anything to do with the abduction because there was never an abduction. But seeing her now, knowing what we know, it's crazy.
Well, nothing she said there was true. The boys were found in their mom's car inside John D. Long Lake, like Darcy said, and her husband was not involved in the crime. Now, J.R. Berry was covering this 25 years ago when this happened. And, we say 25 years, J.R., but to South Carolinians, it really doesn't feel like it was that long.
I remember the night the phone call came in from Humon. He was the SLED spokesman. He called up the newsroom on a Tuesday evening and said, hey, we've got this case out of Union County. We've got this mother who claims that Her car was carjacked with her two small children inside. He gave me the details, ladies, about what she claimed happened that night. Immediately, I said to the SLED spokesman, come on, you got to be kidding me. No mom would let some guy ride off in her car with the children strapped inside. But he told me that night, he says, well, that is the story that she is telling us, and that is the story that we have to go with. And years later, I spoke with the SLED chief at the time, Bob Stewart, who said all along authorities had doubts about Smith's story.
The first night when the sheriff called and asked for assistance, we sent a team over, and one of the first agents that went over was a forensic artist who works with an alleged victim and does a pretty good interview, and as well as doing the artist's sketch. And when he completed his work that night, he pretty much indicated that he thought there were some problems with Susan Smith's story.
So that was Bob Stewart just a few years ago, I believe, on the 20th anniversary of all of this. This sparked, as you might imagine, a lot of outrage, not only in Union County where this happened, all across the state of South Carolina and nationwide. People were outraged that this woman could come forward and tell such a lie and put people in such an uproar.
Now, in 2015, she wrote a letter in prison to give her side of what happened. She says she's not a monster and that she was a good mother and loved her boys. Smith says something went wrong that night. She was not herself, and there was no motive because it was not planned.
Well, she says there's no motive, but the prosecutor said there was a motive here.
And what was that?
A 23-year-old Susan Smith wanted to have a relationship with a wealthy man in Union County, a man who had told her he didn't want a family. And for that reason, they say she strapped her children inside the car and rolled it in John D. Long Lake. So that's the motive that prosecutors used. There was some thought that they were going to try and get the death penalty here. David Bruck, a high-profile attorney, took the case trying to keep her off death row. Instead, she got those 30 years. But as you heard a few moments ago, she could be eligible for parole in 5 years.
Now, I know you have followed this story. Do you know anything about her time in prison? What can you tell us?
I know she hasn't been the model prisoner. She has been written up at least 5 times on various charges. There's drug use. Also, she had sexual relations with 2 correctional officers. That was when she was housed here in Columbia. She has since been moved to Greenwood. So when her probation hearing comes up in a few years from now, all these things that have happened will come back, and they'll look at it and they'll decide then.
You were in the courtroom during the trial. Talk to me about who Susan Smith was in that courtroom.
We heard a lot about Susan Smith inside that courtroom, some of it very disturbing testimony. We heard that she tried to commit suicide at the age of 13. She tried to commit suicide at the age of 18. She was sexually molested by a member of her own family for many years. Her father killed himself when she was only 6 years old. So the defense here tried to tell the jury, look, this woman has some mental issues. This woman has some problems. This woman doesn't deserve the death penalty. This woman doesn't deserve to die for these crimes because she's pretty messed up.
Now, JR, we talked a little bit about the husband, but, you know, again, he was not a part of this plan. He believed her that somebody had taken their children and believed that they were missing for that time period. What do you know about what he's been doing for the last 25 years?
David Smith has remarried. At last check, he had 2 daughters.
There you go.
He visits the grave sites regularly of Michael and Alex. He has tried to put this behind him. He's tried to move on. He says he's always, of course, going to remember his sons. But he has no contact with Susan Smith, as far as we know. And he has just moved on with his new life with his wife and their 2 daughters.
I kind of have a feeling there will be public outrage when she's up for parole and that the public will have something to say about it.
Probably so. And it could be that the offenses that she has committed behind bars might come back to bite her when it comes for probation time. So there's no guarantee she's going to get probation, but she certainly will probably be asking for that in about 5 years. Interesting, the players in this case, what's happened to them over the last 25 years. As we mentioned, David Smith remarried. He has 2 kids. The prosecutor, Tommy Pope, is now a House representative representing Union County in the State House here in South Carolina. The sheriff, the man who said Susan Smith has been arrested and charged, he served 90 days in prison. He got caught up in a federal corruption probe. As for David Bruck, he's 70, and he is still trying to keep people off of death row. He takes cases each and every day.
It's hard to believe it's been 25 years, and I think the overwhelming feeling for us in the newsroom is it was such a horrible crime. It just seems like it happened yesterday.
It does seem like it happened yesterday, and you know what? John D. Long Lake, that ramp.
The ramp, yeah.
It's been closed because 2 years after all of this happened, 7 people drowned one night. They went to that very same boat ramp. Mm-hmm. The car went back into the water. Among the 7 dead, several children. So they just made the decision, let's shut that boat ramp down. We'll move the memorial for the children here. We'll make it safer for people who want to come and pay respects.
Too easy to get cars in and out of there. JR, thank you so much for joining us for that update.
Something else. I got one more too about her in jail. But I was looking, the one I was looking for, I'm not seeing what I did with it, but it was, okay, that one. I'm going through them, guys, looking for, this may be the one.
Media descended on Union and beamed the story around the world.
So the first couple of them are her and him, kind of those interviews, and the last ones are of him when he talks about when it happened and him going over to be with her, and then his reaction after he found out that she did it.
Before long, Susan appeared with her husband David to make a tearful plea for the return of their children.
I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't do anything but think about them.
Okay, y'all. Now, what does that face tell you? I remember seeing this in the news and thinking, is she laughing?
I just want to hug them so bad and tell them I love them.
But after almost a week of silence, Susan and David Smith appeared before the television cameras once again.
I want to say to my babies that your mama loves you so much, and your daddy, these whole families love you so much. And you guys have got to be strong, because you are, I just know, I just feel in my heart that you're okay, but you got to take care of each other. And your mom and daddy are going to be right here waiting on you when you get home.
On the 9th day of the search, Susan and David appeared on all 3 national network morning news programs, declaring their innocence and pleading for the return of Michael and Alex.
My first reaction is it hurts to know that that I would be accused or even thought that I would ever do anything to harm my children. As a mother, it's only a natural instinct to protect your children from any harm. And the hardest part of this whole ordeal is not knowing if your children are getting what they need to survive. And it hurt. It hurts real bad.
When I got there, she was hysterical. I had to literally pick her up off the floor and take her into the other room and sit down with her on the couch. I was heartbroken. It was a sickening feeling that I've never experienced in my life before. I felt empty. I felt hollow. I felt betrayed.
Yeah, those two were pretty close together, but he was very shocked. I mean, he went to her side, and then the second one, he was super shocked about the whole thing. But yeah, that's kind of my feeling about this, is that when all of this happened, she just went right straight to, look at all of this attention, look at all this great attention I'm getting. And look, they're sitting there and he's holding her hand just like he did when she had the cesarean. He was there and he was helping take care of her and all of those things. It's just sad. Yes. Yeah. Yep. I know. that sitting there and saying all of those things makes me, she was right smack dab in the middle of this whole story she had going on. This whole story she had going on. She was just playing the part, you know, and hoping she ain't going to get caught. Okay, I have one more clip, and that is about now. Now, you guys, this clip, you're just going to have to take this person as who she is and just, it's, oh my goodness. Yeah, and I know that they do give that, but I don't know, do they do that outside of the infirmary? I guess it's possible that they could keep them in their mouth or whatever. I don't know. You know, that you never know. How does some of this stuff happen in prison is a good question. Good grief. You know, I have no idea. But it happens all the time. Drugs, guns, phones, sex. I mean, that guy's sitting there talking about how she'll manipulate people. Is that your excuse, bud? Because you had an affair with her? I don't know. Does anybody have anything to add that you think I might? Because that is about the end of my notes right now. Of course, like I said, when the court case happened, yeah, that does happen too. Absolutely. And again, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. For those of you who are watching this on replay, thank you very much. For those who are lurkers and watching, thank you very much also. Yeah, I think she became dangerous very, very young. And I think that David Smith was rather naive. I thought that from the get-go, that he was rather naive about her and what he thought, you know, and always thinking he needed to do the right thing by somebody, you know. Maybe he had an attitude of, I can save this person. You know, you never know what was. I've not seen an in-depth analysis of him or anything like that, but no, she should no. That's a given. She should not be around children, and the fact that they were letting her in prison, a woman who killed her own. But what are they thinking? Oh, absolutely, Colleen. This is fun. I love these. I love doing my stitching crimes. I can sit here and knit and talk and hang out with you guys. Oh my gosh, I love it. I don't know. I didn't discover anything about it, Susan. Yep. It's a whole I know that the prison system is wrought with things like that where it's a business. The prisons themselves, if you think about it, they are also a business, okay? They're privately owned, most of them. They're not state, you know, a lot of the places that are state are the mental places, but the prisons, a lot of they're privately owned. So this is business, money making. What does that tell you? Yeah, that's true. A maximum security prison assistant warden. That's true. Um, if any of you watch Anthony Gang, I'm not sure how to say his last name, Alicia, but Anthony is it's just I've lost it. I'm sure Alicia will put it in there for me, but Anthony he is a warden, and he talks about the prison system. It's very fascinating to hear it from somebody. He does not speak of his own, where he is, or those that he works with. He just speaks in general of the system. Hi, Rosie. Ganji, okay. Anthony Ganji. Tear time? Tear talk. Tear talk, I think is what it's called. It's we've all known for a very long time the system is broke. You know, why did she only get 30 years? Why did she not get the death penalty? There's some really great questions. You know, if anybody deserved it, we would think that she would. If they didn't see her as a mental case and put her away somewhere, then why would they not put her away for it's 30 years to life? So I guess that is has to be, you know, looked at however that comes out. I did see there was another small interview with him. I could not find it. I had seen it at some point, but then when I went to do my research, I could not find it. But there was an interview. David has done some, he has spoken in a couple of different places about his experience. I don't know how recent it was. Yeah, there is some really bad stuff. Hey, Shad. Oh, thank you. You got here to see my necklace, huh? How are you, Shad? For those that don't know, Blossom is another one of my monikers. It is actually what Mr. Fiber calls me. He calls me Blossom. And Shad knows me by Blossom. Yeah, I guess it all depends on where you go. That's what I keep thinking also, Patricia. You know, I would think that the women in prison who can't see their children, who are like, you know, I screwed up and now I don't get to see my kids. I would think one of them would be like, listen, you're not right. But this is one of the cases that fascinated me. The Diane Downs case fascinated me, the small sacrifices. I was looking for the book by Anne Rule. I was not able to find it by itself. I have only been able to find it in a book that was like several stories. So I'll have to let you know. I'll have to keep looking, but I am too. And I had small children also when this came out. My daughter Chelsea here, she was only like 3 years old, I would think, 3 or 4 years old, and her sister would only been about 1 or 2 years old. And I remember watching the case, the court case was going on, like I said, at the same time as the O.J. Simpson trial, and I remember watching that. I remember watching the O.J. Simpson trial, the whole thing. I watched that, and then later on, I think I picked up, because I didn't have court TV, and I think I found part of the civil case somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thriftbooks.com has one that has like several different in there, and I saw that. I thought about that. I did want to ask you guys, let me go over and grab it. I want to show you a book that I recently got. I picked this up this week. I know that Alicia is also reading it. If you do not follow him, Mike King of Profiling Evil is a channel. He has a podcast and he also has a channel here on YouTube. And this is a book that just came out recently, and it's about the Zion Society up in Utah. I don't know if that is something you guys might be interested in talking about. Let me know if it is when I get more of the book read. Now, I am pretty sure that I saw a series on it at one time, or I thought I did, somewhere that I saw some documentary stuff on it. And the interview room, Chris Madonna of the interview room, I'll write that down too. I've been taking notes, you guys, of the stuff that you're telling me. See, I'm taking notes. What is that? Chris McDonough. The interview room. Hi, Sandy. But if that's something you guys would like, it's still crime, so I didn't know if that was something anybody would be interested in. It kind of gets into, I don't do religion per se here, but that is something that is covering crimes against children and women. So that's where. Okay. Thank you, Nisi. Have a great night. I am probably going to we've been here for 2 hours, you guys. I knew this was going to be a long one, but this is a case that I really wanted to cover from the time I started. So I've gotten 2 or 3 cases out of the way. There's a couple more I'm going to do before we get into like Scott Peterson and some of those other ones. I want to cover the case of Laura Miller, because that is the daughter of the founder of EquiSearch, Texas EquiSearch. And then I want to cover Casey Anthony, because that is the case that started Dave Rader with the EquiSearch Midwest. So those 2 cases I would like to cover next. And that'll give me time to read the book. Oh, how are you doing, Sandy? Yeah, they're fun. So now we're just knitting, you guys. Again, don't forget to get your pictures of your blankets to me. They don't have to be finished. Just show me the blanket you're working on, whether it's crochet, whether it's knit, and I will pick a winner for the quarter, because it's all year long. We're doing this all year. That's good. Both Sandys. We got 2 Sandys. I am dropping stuff with my blanket back over here, trying to turn it up so I can get to it. You doing squares for duty, Ron? I do have my 4 squares done. Now I need to I'm going to be stitching something over them. So I've got the squares done, but I need to do the lettering, and that's next. But I have washed and blocked my squares so they all look uniform and ready to go, so I can start stitching it. Are you going, Delphine? Good night, hun. Thank you so much, Deb. Yes, I wrote that down. I will definitely be looking them up. It does take quite a bit of time, you guys, for the reason I do these every other Friday is because it takes a little bit of time to do the research on these and to make the videos and clips and things for you. So 9, 3 red, 3 brown, and 3 white. Oh, brown, you mean blue? It's red, white, and blue. But thank you so much. Yes. Okay, so I have a video. If I don't know if there's a moderator here that could post the video for me asking for the squares for Duty Ron. Oh, and there's another Sandy. We have 3. From the home of Dave Rader. Yay. Good night, Sylvia. Thank you for being here. Yes, we are making, Duty Ron asked if I would, he wanted to pay me to make a blanket. And I said, well, we'll see. And then Lori Armstrong, she said, why don't we have everybody help? And I said, ooh, I like that idea. So that's what we're doing. Everybody's helping us make it. I already have some squares. I've got 2 packages. I went to the post office and got 2 packages from my P.O. box. Thank you, Alicia. I might take you up. Oh, okay. I was just making sure. Oh, did you find it, Chelsea? Yay, Chelsea found it. There you go. There's the video. Hi, Tank. So glad to see you. That's the video where I tell you all what I'm doing and where to send it and all that good stuff. And I've been trying to put the information about this blanket and anything that there is to know. I've been trying to do that on the bottom of all of these, trying to keep the links on the bottom of the things going on, because I also, just to give you an update, you guys, we have like 20, I think it's 26 more subscribers to hit the 3K. Yes, Lori. So we are so close to that 3K, and then I can give away that box. Getting close. So if any of you guys knows anybody who wants to. That's right, better 4 than 0. I don't know what we're talking about. What are we talking about? Oh, 4 of us. What did I miss? Sometimes I don't even know what I said. Yes, send the squares to me, to my P.O. box. It's in my About page. And it should be at the bottom of that. It should be in that video and at the bottom too. Yeah, we're getting close, you guys. Aw. Hey, we start somewhere, Sandy. We all started somewhere. Oh, okay. That's what she meant. 4 if you posted it. Yeah, we're getting so close to the giveaway for the 3K. But I really feel like there's been some stuff going on with YouTube again this week or so, because I was up to 29.78, and then I went back down to 29.76, and then I had 29.75, and then I went to 74, then it went back. It's been up and down 2 or 3 here and there, so it's been a little bit crazy this last week or so. It'll settle out. You guys are on it. Thank you for your help. My moderators, thank you so much for being here and helping me. Is it on ID? Oh, I was subscribed to that, and I've thought about it, and I'm like, oh, do I want to add another subscription? 270 in the Facebook group. Whoop, whoop. That's awesome. I saw you had some, Sharon. I saw you had. She's got like 67. Isn't that crazy? Just overnight, just boom. Isn't that crazy? Oh, is that right, Chelsea? Oh my gosh. So see, we're going to definitely have to cover it then. I have a lot of things on my list, but those two I really feel kind of a calling in a way to cover, and that is the Laura Miller case. And one of the reasons, if you guys don't already know this, but the Laura Miller case, her her murder was during a time when there were a bunch of murders that were committed in Texas, and it's part of a series of murders in the killing fields of Texas, the Texas killing fields. So that's going to be a pretty heavy case, you know. That is a lot to lose. 1,000, yeah, that's a lot. Yes, Jodi Arias, was that the one who drowned hers in her bathtub? Oh, thank you, Sue. Andrea Yates, that was the one. Jodi Arias wasn't she another one of the mom, another killer mom? I think. Guys, I'm almost done with this color. I have to change colors in a minute. Thank you for you guys joining the Facebook group. It's a great place to go over and see there's what do you call those? Highlighted features. There's features for the Cheryl that was here earlier. Her and I are doing the Ami Mal. She killed her boyfriend. Okay. I don't know why her name was in my head for some reason for moms. I don't know why. I tell you though, I really want to talk about Scott Peterson, and I really want to talk about um, Making of a Murderer, Stephen Avery, and I want to talk about Michael Peterson. How many of you followed the staircase, Michael Peterson? That was another one that was very fascinating. And I get very involved in. Oh, I did want to talk about this before we go. Uh, Halderson case. He was sentenced the other day. He got life imprisonment with no parole. Chaz. That may be why that kept coming up in my brain because I saw that. Yeah, Michael Peterson killed his wife. Yes. Yeah. That was very interesting, and the way that they did. Here's something though. Let me just say that first. The Halderson case, he got life imprisonment, and he spoke at his sentencing. He takes off his mask. Did you guys see this? And he says something. I'm not. Don't hold me to this. I'm just paraphrasing what I remember him saying. He said something like, "I will be filing an appeal. Yes, I do have emotions. I was told not to show them." And then put his mask back on, and that was it. I know. And Chris Watts, that one was like, I couldn't believe what Chris Watts did. That one was, thinking with his male parts, let me tell you. He spoke. Halderson spoke like 10 words. He wasn't going to, and then he did. Changed his mind and did, and that's all he said. I know. So the Duty Ron squares are, I would like red, white, or blue, or a variegated is fine. Red, white, and blue. And 7 inches using, I'm hoping that you can use an H hook. Doesn't matter the design of them, but they need to be 4-weight acrylic and 7-inch squares. And I will put the border on them and put them together. So Halderson, that's another case, and I watched that entire thing just recently, and it was like crazy. Are you kidding me what this guy did? He killed his parents, dismembered them, burned them in his fireplace, then took him out to his girlfriend's mother's place and buried parts of them, threw the rest of them in the water, and some of them have not been found. The address for the squares is below that video. There was a video posted earlier, or it's in my About page. If you go to my channel page and go to the About, my address is there. Yeah, faked being in college. You know, he had this whole life that he was faking forever. Oh, you're homesick, Rosie. Yeah, that one was like unbelievable. But I will tell you this, and the judge during sentencing, the judge cried. He cried a couple of times. The first time was when he spoke about how emotional the whole case was, the toll the case itself took, the long listening to all of these things and how truly horrible the whole thing was. And he cried about that. And then the other thing he cried about was the case itself. They got national recognition for how they handled that case. And that meant a great deal to him, that they held the system, the integrity of the system, and how both sides conducted their cases. And so it was really something. Yeah, I remember something about that, Sharon. Where was this at again? Why does that sound familiar? Yeah, that sounds very familiar. Oh, it's going to be on Court TV? Wow. Yeah, that's another one that just really... How can they do that? How could they do that? Yeah. Thank you, Sandy. Rhode Island. I don't know why, but that sounds really, really... They're saying she's got a court date that they're fixing to cover that, Donna. So I'll have to look into that too, because that one was... I'm pretty sure that the uncle killed those kids. And isn't he dead now? Nine years ago. Wow. Huh. I don't know. Evidently it doesn't make any difference. They're gonna get started. They can't let it go on forever without doing something. Yeah, I thought he was. She manipulated. I am pretty sure that Lori Vallow and Alex were having a brother-sister affair. And so she manipulated him to do what she couldn't do herself. Because I think she was really, I think that she could have done that with the girl, but I don't think that she could do that with the boy. I think that she was trying because I think she was mad at the girl. So all in my brain and my way, all this is working, but I think she was mad at the girl because the girl said that the boy was her boy, that it was her son, because she's the one that took care of him. That little boy was autistic, and she was taking care of him. So crazy, crazy world, you guys. Does anybody have anything to add to the cases that I covered before? The West boys. So they have not found. They have not found them. No. And I think we're in a holding pattern right now. You know, they've been arraigned, but I think we're just in a holding pattern with them, aren't we? Yes, it is the magic of YouTube. Absolutely is. But Duty Ron has been covering that, and I mean, a lot of people have, but he's who I've been watching and joining for that. But I don't know if there's anything new. Oh, they put a gag order on it. That does not surprise me, to be honest. Now, the behavior panel, okay, who was it that they interviewed? Was it the father? I'm pretty sure they did. They actually went and interviewed him, and they showed part of that on their channel. Yeah, because the Lori Vallow thing was in what wasn't the kids? Didn't they kill those kids in 20? So we're looking at nearly 2 years already. It takes a while for these things to go to court. It really does. It's frustrating. Oh, Chad definitely had something to do with it. I know Chad killed his wife. I just know he did. Either that or Alex did all of them. Okay, Patricia. Good night. Yeah, 2020. That's true, Alicia. That is true. The Scott Peterson case, though, another reason why that one was so fascinating was because look at all of the media that went on around that one. The same as this one, the Susan Smith case, all the media stuff that went on around it was crazy, you know? So it's one of those things that we get fascinated with these cases, especially when the media is so, there's so much going on around it. Yeah, I'm not totally, I'm with you on that. I think but Alex was not well, and I think they knew it. I think they knew it. I think he knew it, and I think that girlfriend knew it. I think Alex's girlfriend knew it too. Okay, Rosie, just send me an email, Rosie. Did you find my email? It'd be a lot easier that way, because I don't always check all those other places. Yeah, you guys, the command is, whoops. What did I do? I don't know what I did. It's exclamation email. Most of my commands are an exclamation and then like exclamation email, exclamation. I have not done, there's a new one and I'm holding out judgment on that until I know that it is a good, that it's not going to mess with people, but there's a new one. Yeah, I think she did. I think she knew. I think he told her a lot. I think he did. I don't think he told her everything because I think at the time that this is Alex's girlfriend, I think that he didn't want her to be involved and get hurt. There it is. There it is. So that is my email. Send me an email, Rosie. So for those of you who were wondering, the calf survived. If you were watching my video the other day, the calf is fine. I have updates coming out. I have to edit my footage, but the cowboy were here. The new calf. The case I was referring to was the Lori and Chad, the Daybell one. So the calf went to go live at the farm at ACU, which is Abilene Christian University. The cowboy that came out here is the farm manager there, and he took that calf so that all the the students are going to baby the new calf. So yay. Yes. And I've got to go get some sweet feed and something called bute powder for Rosie, and it's going to take the swelling down. I just have not been able to go. I just wasn't able to do it. I've been so tired. I am so sorry to hear that. Absolutely, Sue. I'm sorry to hear that. And I understand. And I understand if you can't be here for that reason. That's why I have that deal right at the very beginning, because I want to make sure people, I would not want to be responsible for that. But you have our condolences. And we like to hear when people get caught. We like to hear when people have to pay for these things that they do. Yeah, the calf is going to be just fine. I know people are wanting to know, and I've got to get a hold of him and find out. When I said I was going to, they were just fine with me filming them. So I filmed the farrier and I filmed the cowboy, and they said it was absolutely fine with them. And so I'm going to send a link whenever I get the video uploaded so they can watch it, and I'll see if I can't get a hold of this cowboy and find out. His name is Riley. And I want to try to get a hold of Riley and see if I can get updates on the calf as we go along. So, okay, you guys, I'm going to call it a night. This has been a really good one. I was very nervous about this one because I had not gotten a whole lot done before this week because I had so much going on. And then we had the cowboy and the farrier and so much going on this week. So I appreciate you guys for being here. Check out the videos that I had talked about. The playlist for this will be down below, and this one will be added to the playlist when we're done. So for those of you out there, I will absolutely, Lori. When I get done, I'll check it. I usually do that from my phone. Hold on just a minute. I'm going to remove my hand since we are finishing up. Make sure there's not something here I need to pay attention to real quick. Y'all bear with me for a second. There we go. Now I'm out of there. Okay. I see it, Lori. I will check it out. I'm wondering if that's one that I saw. I saw something the other day. Good night, everybody. Yes, that's the one that I'm kind of holding out judgment on, Tank. I want to make sure, I didn't do StreamYard right away when it came out because I was not sure that StreamYard was not a way for bots to get in. So it took me a while before I even did StreamYard. And I did see that Nisi had done that, and I do have the information. I have saved the information to do that. And I will determine later on if that's something that I want to do. But thank you for letting me know because I did see that and it looks really neat. So good night, everybody. Good night, Solomon. Good night, Oliver. They won't be watching this one. But I say it anyway. Good night, Carrie and Sailor. I love you guys. Good night, Shells. Thank you, my moderators. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I'll see you in a couple weeks with another one. And a couple days for updates. So Sunday is Sippin' Sunday. So night, everybody.